I don't care what you say. There will never
How did the
be.
milk get through the wall?
It's
a physical glass of
It's
milk.
ghost milk. That's what you question. Welcome all ghoulettes and ghouls out there listening to another episode of Shadows and Sightings podcast. Here with us today, I'm Nick.
I'm Taylor.
And I'm Brittany.
We're going to be talking to you about a lovely, well, I guess a couple different locations, ghost stories from Frederick, Maryland in our backyard. Our lovely Frederick, Maryland.
Like the neighbors, you know.
Yeah, I guess we're more like neighbors.
They are our neighbors to the west.
Yeah, a lot of stuff
West.
goes down.
East?
West,
Wait,
South?
western, no, east.
Who are you people?
East, yeah. East, yeah. It's a lot of crazy things always going down. Frederick seems to be a hotspot for like a lot of
Frederick
Very
and Frederick
historic.
County is pretty messed up.
yeah.
It's got some stuff going on down there.
That wasn't expecting everything that we
A lot of Civil War stuff,
mhm.
a lot of revolutionary patriotism. They're just random freaks and weirdos.
Yeah,
Happen on their way through.
Just people looting graves and stealing skulls and dropping them in bushes.
Yeah, throwing them in shrubberies.
Yes.
I mean, the audacity to throw a skull in a shrub.
The nerve.
That should be our new T-shirt now. A skull in a shrub.
Every episode we have a new team.
Like a new idea of like what I'd wear it.
Could be some official Shadows and Sightings merch with your shadows and skulls and shrubberies and sightings.
That's gonna be the tagline for that shirt.
It's like the shirt that has every name, like Nick and Taylor and Brittany and Ghosts and like that kind of thing.
Yeah. What are we talking about today?
We're going to be bringing you some interesting tales of folklore, some urban legends, some ghost stories of Frederick and the surrounding area, known lovingly as Frederick County.
I grew up in Frederick.
Did you? I was born in Frederick. I
Born
didn't
in
grow up in Frederick.
Born in Frederick. I lived in Fort Detrick for a little while. On Fort Detrick for a little bit. I lived in Walkersville, which is like basically Frederick. Like
Yeah,
Did you
it's great.
drink the water?
Frederick.
Did you drink the water?
Every day.
No.
I bathe in that shit.
Why would you not drink the water?
Oh, there's like a
There's
lot
like-
of things
yeah.
about Dietrich and like don't drink the water.
Fort Detrick. Okay. I
Yeah,
get
Fort
that.
Detrick.
That
Yeah,
makes sense to me.
Brittany, what do you got? What did your research show? What did you find?
It's like Ghostface. This shows up. What's your favorite ghost story, Brittany?
Who's that guy and how'd he get in here?
One of my favorite stories was one about a ghost dog.
Ooh, spooky.
It's kind of related to, I don't know if you know, but Frederick recently renamed their baseball team. They kind of put out a public vote, and some of the options were the Shakers, the Rail Frogs, the Sawbones, or the Screaming Alpacas.
I did see the Screaming Alpacas. I feel like there's a lot of clamor and it narrowly beat the Screaming Alpacas. I just want to edit that they didn't rename the baseball team. They just made like a new one. The keys still
Gotcha.
exist,
Ah,
as far as I know.
news to me.
Oh, is it two? So they have two baseball teams there?
Yeah, they play like at opposite times. Like the Keys are still a developmental team for the Orioles. Team that Brittany's about to talk about is like its own thing entirely.
The Spire City Ghost Hounds.
It's so
It's just a cool name. It's way better than the
great.
Hagerstown Flying Boxcars.
I like their logo too.
I like
Yeah.
the box cars. I mean, the logo I like more.
I want a Ghost Hounds hat so bad. I gotta find one.
I want a box car shirt.
I thought you have one.
I
Seen you
did.
wearing it the last time we were recording.
Oh yeah. Well,
Sponsor shirt.
it's a sponsor
Like
shirt.
a-
There's like one of those free ones
Oh.
they threw out. I want like the actual one with like the plane and
With the guys.
the dude.
Anyways, we're talking about the Ghost Hounds
Yes,
today.
anyway, the
We're talking about the Ghost Hounds.
goes
Ghost Hound is a reference to a local legend. The Blue Ghost Hound of Rose Hill Manor.
That just sounds spooky. Rose Hill Manor sounds spooky.
Right.
It's like season 3 or 4 of
Yeah, you have like the haunting of
The
Bly
Haunting
Manor.
of Hill House in Bly Manor. Rose Hill Manor.
So Rose Hill Manor is a mansion in the northern part of Frederick, which shouldn't be confused with Rose Hill Manor of Port Tabasco, Maryland.
Tabasco or tobacco?
Tobacco, right? That I said.
You said Tabasco.
Port Tabasco. I want to go to Port Tabasco.
That sounds
cool as
awesome.
hell. That's probably in New Orleans, though.
Which shouldn't be confused with Port Tobacco, Maryland, which is about 2 hours away, because they also have a very similar story about a ghost hound basically doing the exact same thing.
And dogs in Rose Hills. Who would have thought?
I really want to know like the details as to why those are like so similar. Like what happened in translation that like
We're gonna have to look into Port
the
Tobacco a little bit.
That one's got a little bit more detail, and I'm not really sure which one originated first.
Oh, that's a good point. Somebody from Port Tobacco just came up to Frederick and started running this rumor, and then they just started going with it.
Or the other way
well
around.
There are a lot of first-hand accounts at Rose Hill.
the Port Tobacco one though sounds
Say it now, don't you?
yeah the Port Tobacco one sounds a lot. The story is much more exciting than like the
One that's subjective. Some people would maybe disagree. I think this one's pretty good.
So Rose Hill Manor was the home or the retirement home of Thomas Johnson, who was the first governor of Maryland. He owned it up until he passed away, and now it is owned by the Parks and Recreation Commission, who do a lot of volunteer reenactments. So there's a lot of volunteers coming in and out of there that report seeing a lot of strange things and hearing a lot of strange voices. And one of those strange sounds has been howling, they report, coming from the property, but they don't see any animals around.
Mostly what I've seen was volunteers saying that they've heard voices and sounds that they can't account for. So howling, yeah, checks out, but also some voices, I guess, mostly on the grounds and not the actual manor itself.
I mean, we've got coyotes and stuff around here.
Yeah, I would imagine there's something
Natural,
logical
yeah, like
that you could explain why you would hear howling in the middle of the night at a decently populated location.
So many of the volunteers report hearing voices and sounds that they can't account for. Some of those noises include disembodied scratching on the exterior doors and howls late at night from animals they don't see.
So again, I mean, it could be a coyote somewhere out in the woods, but
yeah.
the scratching on the walls, that's one you can't really
Yeah,
explain away too
I
easily.
guess it's scratching from the outside and like open the door and don't see anything.
Those pesky ghost dogs.
I mean, it's clearly it's hobos.
It's a what?
It's hobos.
Oh.
Like there's no questions asked. Really fast, transparent,
Yeah.
four-legged hobos,
It's all dogs.
stray dogs.
Owls are said to be eerie and mournful, like a loyal old hound searching for his master.
Oh, what a good boy.
I don't know what kind of hobos.
It's kind of depressing. Now I feel depressed.
That's a good boy.
I guess.
Even in death, you can't stop him from being a good boy.
That seems to be a reoccurring theme with like dogs, like ghost dogs in general.
Oh, Winchester's going to haunt this
Oh
place.
yeah, he'll never leave. It's okay. It's okay. He's allowed to haunt. He can stay here forever.
Oh, absolutely. He should stay here forever.
I wouldn't take it as far as like those weirdos out there that like taxidermy their dogs.
Yeah, don't do that. Don't do that.
And,
Don't
like
do that.
it's just
Also, don't bury any treasure around here that he can easily find and lead people to. Like this dog.
The story kind of comes from there's a story about a wealthy man who lived on the manor before Johnson. And it said that he lived there with only the dog for company. He didn't really trust the banks, so he decided to bury all his wealth on the property.
Like any good old man.
So in his will, he left directions where to find the wealth, but it was very vague. All he really said was that you need to dig 6 feet from an old oak tree. So after he died, there's been a lot of people searching for this wealth or this gold, but no one's really been able to find it. Kind of a dick move.
It is.
As you're dying, you write vague instructions to find your wealth.
At least he didn't write like one of those codexes, just a bunch of gibberish, and somebody had to
code it.
decode it like for centuries.
I wonder how much wealth was actually in that.
Probably less than you think.
Yeah.
It's probably another clue.
It's like a national treasure situation.
It's like a key to the bank that
It's
he
probably like this guy really thought he had a lot of money, and then it's just like $48, $12 is Confederate money. It's like, it's not worth it.
It's not worth it.
He's like, look at this, a shiny new nickel.
I'm going to make somebody very rich someday.
So while searching for the treasure, people have said they've encountered an old-looking blue dog that lurks in the shadows. It's been seen roaming the grounds around the manor. Treasure hunters claim it seems to be trying to lead them somewhere. but when they'd go to follow it or chase it down, never really leads them anywhere and kind of disappears into the darkness.
Just edging everybody.
That to me is more infuriating than the will.
I
Like
agree.
seeing the dog and like, oh, here's the clue. Just follow the dog, and like go around the corner, he's gone. Like, damn it!
Every time.
And each time you get a little bit closer,
Yeah.
and like you finally get to like around the hole, and it just leads you right back to like where you started.
My thing is, so they know that this treasure is buried 6 feet away from an oak tree. How many oak trees are on this property?
Oh yeah, he knew what he was
You
doing.
know, go 6 feet in any direction on all the oak trees and just see if you can find it.
But it's probably
Right.
like hundreds of oak trees.
But I mean, this was back in the 1700s, so are those oak trees even there?
The same
Yeah,
ones,
the
yeah,
same
like
property,
forest.
I
Yeah,
guess. Yeah,
Uh,
could be. I guess no metal detectors have been allowed out there.
I don't know. They're kind of weird because it's if it's a
I mean, it's for the
is it like
it's
a
a Parks and
protected
Rec
site?
place,
Yeah,
right?
it's like they're pretty. You
It's like
can't really.
Battlefield. You can't go relic hunting on battlefields. I'm sure this place is no
Well, I
different.
mean, you can go there because right now it's they do reenactments and things like that, historic information.
But you can't go at night to find the blue dog.
If they don't catch you,
It's true. Not that we're condoning that.
This is true.
I
The
gotta put some surveillance out, try to get some footage. You know,
Maybe the dog is so good at his job he avoids all of the existing security cameras.
you've got to be worthy for him to lead you to the goal.
The
yeah, that's
mutineer
what I'm
dog.
saying. Like, yeah, he shows up. Like he'll come to you if you're worthy.
I'd like to believe that I would be worthy.
Yeah,
I vibe different.
you vibe different. Yeah, it shows up
You
you.
like me for some reason.
You gotta look him in his
Joke.
blue eyes.
Oh,
You gotta connect with him.
oh, he's got blue eyes too.
He's a blue ghost dog. There weren't many
Does it
details
say?
on
Maybe his eyes are
description.
black.
I would imagine
Might
those
be.
red.
Empty pits. Well, that would be like he's evil.
He could be evil.
I don't know. He doesn't sound very evil.
Sounds loyal.
Loyal can still be evil. Darth Vader was loyal to the Empire.
Jesus. I mean, you're not wrong.
Evil is all get out. And his lightsaber was red. What do you got to say about that?
Wow, must be some kind of conspiracy.
I'm telling you, he knew what he was doing the whole time. He could have kept that door open.
Any other things on this blue dog at the Rosehill
Mhm.
Manor? Any other shadows or sightings? See what I did
He
there?
ends it that this treasure has not been found and he has not been spotted recently. Maybe that's because
Damn it, that
no
dog
one's,
is still at large.
maybe because no one's allowed on the property to search around, or I don't know.
That could be.
What we need to do is get a real detective on the case. Remember McGruff? Was his name from back in the day? Was it McGruff?
I think so.
Or was it Bark? Sergeant Bark?
I think it was Barks McGruff.
Barks. I can't
I've got a
remember.
true detective dog that I do know the name of, Ace the Bat Hound.
What about Crypto?
He has no detective skills. He's just a superpowered dog.
What is crypto?
Superman.
Crypto is Superman's dog when they had the League of Super Pets.
Didn't Batman have a dog, a Doberman?
Ace the Bat Hound.
Oh.
Yes, that's why he is the detective dog.
Oh, I should have known.
Now know that Nick doesn't know anything about the Super Pets.
It wouldn't be my first phone call if I was in danger. If I was in dire need of assistance, it would not. Like, I'm stuck on top of a burning building and they send Aquaman.
Building is burning. Aquaman's not a bad choice. He's got water. He can put it out.
Nah,
Yeah, it just stumped you right there. Didn't it?
I guess.
Exactly.
Well,
So anyway, shifting gears away from superheroes. Nick, I'm sure you've got one to talk about.
yeah, so we did that ghost tour.
Why don't you tell the folks a little bit about that ghost tour?
Yeah, so there's a in Frederick, if you ever get the opportunity, what's it called? Downtown Historic Ghost Tours?
I believe it was called Historical Ghost Tours of Frederick.
Yeah, reasonably priced. It was like $16 for a ticket. And you meet up in front of Brewer's Alley. And the tour, it's a walking tour, and it basically just takes you around a few spots around Frederick, downtown Frederick.
Ghost Tours of Historic Frederick.
Is that
That's
what it
the
was?
actual title. Yes.
It was about, 90 minutes?
Yeah, I would say it was a decent tour. I've been on ghost tours in Gettysburg before, and none of them lasted that long. That was
It was pretty lengthy as far as like.
but I don't. I mean,
goes-
like you said, it was $16 to go on it. And it was like almost a 2-hour tour.
Yeah, I definitely feel like we got our money's worth out of it. The ghost tour guide, he's a local of Frederick. Super nice, really, really animated, really into his job, which
Yeah.
makes it worthwhile.
Yeah. He also said at the beginning his name was irrelevant.
Where did it start? So it started out in front of Brewer's Alley, and we walked over to
City Hall, where the town square was. Back in-
City Hall, which was where the town square was.
And he started with a bang because this one was gruesome.
I thought this was the best story on the whole tour. So
Obviously, we're not going to tell anything verbatim of what he said. We're just going to kind of give you the cliff notes because we don't want to copyright anybody's work. We're just kind of going off of knowledge that he parlayed onto us. So go take the tour for yourself if you want the full stories.
of course, back in the day, crime and punishment was it's not what we have today. Like
This is revolutionary America. They took shit very seriously.
oh yeah, there was you broke the law, they were going to make an example of you, and that's how crime was and punishment was
They
back.
did it quick. You broke the law on the same day. You were like,
Oh yeah, yeah. Like oh okay, yeah, exactly. Like your trial process, back in the day could be very very quickly.
Accused in the morning, dead at night.
Dead at night. So it was pretty common that back in the day we had punishments like being hanged, drawn, and quartered, burned at the stake, a lot of public humiliation,
Mm-hmm.
which makes sense because back in the day, the intention of punishment was, a deterrent. So, and they wanted to make like a public example of you, where City Hall stands now, back in the 1700s, is where Frederick County actually had like their public execution.
I believe it was still a town hall then, too.
Was it?
Not the same one because he said that this one burned down a couple of times. But it was still a town hall of sorts, but that's the square was where they had their public.
The public execution, stuff like
Yeah.
that. And 1781, there's a man by the name of Peter Suman. He was a local farmer in Frederick County, and essentially he was tried for or accused of high treason and being a British sympathizer. Accused in the morning and found guilty that afternoon, and essentially put to death that afternoon. And he was hanged, drawn, and quartered. For those of you who don't know what that is,
Which is overkill.
yeah. Oh,
Overkill,
yeah.
hey.
It's over the top. It's ridiculous. It was essentially a penalty for, said men who were convicted of high treason in the Kingdom of England. And of course, it made its way over to the United States. So essentially, a convicted traitor was fastened to a hurdle or wooden panel and drawn behind a horse to the place of execution, where he was then hanged almost to the point of death. He was then emasculated, disemboweled, beheaded, and quartered. Sometimes they would stick like the dismembered body parts on different stakes, and they would like leave them in front of like the actual courthouse, like the execution square. And it was intentional. They wanted people walking by to see that, like, okay, this is what happens.
This is the equivalent of pirates back then,
like
being left in cages on islands that are controlled by the Royal Navy to steal away any other pirates.
Exactly. For reasons of public decency, women who were convicted of high treason, they did not get hanged, drawn, and quartered. They were burned at the stake because, in England,
we're a proper country.
Yeah, we're not savages.
We just ripped a guy's intestines out, lit them on fire, and then had 4 horses take away every limb on his body, chopped his head off, and put it on a pike in front of the court.
Oh, yeah. Because we're not animals.
Yeah, we're not animals.
We're civil here.
Like I said, overkill. Beyond belief.
But of course, on the day of Suman's execution, there were 2 other British sympathizers. So Suman's the first one to get executed. After, like the 2,000 plus spectators that are there see this like monstrosity of like an execution occur, they're like, oh God, this is like overkill. Let's, and they like, plead for mercy. We're like, you guys get your wish, and then just hang the other 2 guys.
So was he the one and only in the state to get that punishment?
That's a good question.
Was he the last?
I can't imagine he was the only one in the state.
To ever be hanged.
I mean, probably in Frederick, he was the last one probably to get.
When was the official, like, okay, guys, maybe we should stop
probably
doing
after
this.
this instance where everybody was like, oh man, that's a little much. Maybe we should just hang these guys from here on out.
Yeah, let's be civil.
Like again, like after you've hung them almost to death and then ripped their intestines out, they're dead at that point. I would assume, like once you light the intestines on fire, they're probably dead.
If they haven't died from like shock by like the
so once you start ripping limbs off with horses and cutting heads off, I mean, what more really could you do? Unless the intention behind it is kind of the story that goes into the ghost story part of things, where you're not allowing them a peaceful rest after they're dead. Like you've committed such a heinous crime that even in death you should not be allowed to rest peacefully.
That's a possibility. I mean, he did say on the ghost tour that it wasn't uncommon for people in high political power to essentially BS, like find reasons to, like, if you had land, if you had like property and stuff, find a way to like get it from you. So like we got to get rid of that guy. So, like, oh, he's a British sympathizer. Oh yeah, he's got to
No,
go.
he's done.
And they could just come in and like
And accuse you of anything.
accuse you of anything, and then seize all of your assets.
Yeah.
So he gets executed. The other two gentlemen, they get hanged. And as far as like ghost activity, there have been reports of seeing a dark, shadowy figure in front of City Hall. The speculation is that it could have been the actual executioner himself. Some people believe that it could be the ghostly apparition of Peter Suman,
Mm-hmm.
who essentially, like you said, has not been put to rest because his body's actually in an unmarked grave,
Or
and,
what's left of his body.
or what's left of his body, but it's an unmarked grave, and to my understanding, and I could be wrong, they have not found that to this day. And so
I believe that the tour guide said that once they did all the malice they did to him, they just kind of threw each body part individually into just holes in the ground somewhere around the square.
yeah, I
think.
wouldn't be surprised.
I think that's, yeah, if that's not the case, it wouldn't surprise me to know that.
Yeah, and then eventually, like, what else did he say? Like, the family was so distraught by, like,
Yeah, they all moved away.
they all go to Ohio, and they
Yeah.
haven't returned back to Frederick
Yeah,
since
never
then, or
went back.
whatever. And which I don't blame him.
Oh,
Like,
yeah, I mean,
like
especially if they were there to see it. He said there was like over 2,000 spectators there.
they were there to see it, and and on top of that, they lost their property and
Yeah,
stuff
lost
because like
everything,
government
yeah.
officials came in and like they like seized all of their land and stuff like that for oh yeah, like I said, you're a British sympathizer, high treason, yeah, you don't deserve this land, we're gonna take that too while we're at it. So it wasn't just a death penalty. There was like more long-standing effects,
Right. The ghost stories that accompany the courthouse.
there's like the dark shadowy figure of walking around City Hall, the town square right there. Well, within City Hall, there have been reports of lights turning on and off in the building, the traditional like footsteps, like late night staff that are working there, and they hear footsteps down the hall, and they look around the corner, there's nobody there. I think he even said the mayor had supposedly reported some things, an apparition, a figure of Peter Suman who could be like a decrepit, like
Like a ghoulish version of it.
yeah, disheveled like Peter Suman, like in City Hall. And it's your stereotypical seeing like shadows and like or outlines and like the windows and stuff at night as you're passing by.
Mhm.
They even think that another account is his wife who witnessed the execution because of like she would like it was such a gruesome thing that she in turn was actually very loyal to her husband and loved him very deeply. And when she passed away, she's still kind of linked to that area because she never really, her husband never got like a peaceful rest, and she's still like looking after him. For our listeners out there, but like there's actual fountain right there in town square right there. People have reported sitting down and feeling like cold hands upon their neck or whatever. Supposedly, it's like Peter Suman like looking for his head. Oh, it just
Yeah,
gives me
yeah,
goosebumps and
yeah.
chills thinking about that.
We should have went back after the tour, just sat for a while and seen if
Yeah,
anything happened.
for sure. Get a spirit box out there, and and talk to good old Peter.
I like the detail about, I think it was someone cleaning in that building and they saw the handprints from the outside of the window.
That's terrifying.
I don't know if that would scare me. That might scare me.
Even if it wasn't a ghost, just seeing handprints, like,
Like, what if it was like raccoon handprints, like little tiny handprints? That's even worse. They got like the creepiest hands in the animal kingdom. So yeah, Peter Seaman, folks.
Also known as raccoon.
City Hall being haunted.
Yeah, City Hall. I talked to the tour guide a little bit in between stops, and pretty much just he's like, "There's so many places around here, we can't hit all of them." But City Hall seems like they could just do a tour in itself. If they would just take you in there and tell you all the ghost stories, you could probably go on a 90-minute tour just of City Hall. It seems to be one of the most haunted locations in Frederick. He also did tell us that Frederick developed into what many would consider one of the most haunted towns in America.
It actually made the list, right?
Yeah.
Was it top 10 or
Top 10, I think. He
That was
said
top 5.
Well, he said there was 5 before Frederick, I believe. He said it was New Orleans, Salem, Gettysburg, Charleston, South Carolina, Savannah. So it might have been 6th on the top 10. That's the way I took it.
I wouldn't be surprised. A lot of like the founding fathers and stuff like that.
Yeah, Frederick was a
Pretty. It was,
pivotal town for a lot of reasons.
it was so close to like DC, and like and
Civil War, it was pivotal just for the location alone.
of course, Frederick Scott Key, probably like
Yeah,
the
well, he was
most
from Frederick.
prominent like
Yeah.
heavy hitter from Frederick.
Yeah. But his ghost apparently haunts somewhere else entirely. But we can do another deep dive on that.
Really?
Yeah.
What do you say
I'm not gonna give
entirely?
that away.
I was
I'm not gonna
like,
give that away.
it's like at the Home Depot on 40.
He haunts the bathroom stalls at Dow's Woods Park.
I knew it was him.
There is the haunted 7-Eleven in Baltimore.
Haunted 7-Eleven in Baltimore.
I think it used to be like an old hospital there. Now it's 7-Eleven. And supposedly it's haunted.
I feel like every 7-Eleven is haunted.
In Baltimore? Yeah, absolutely.
Everything's just haunted in Baltimore. Remember that 7-Eleven downtown in Hagerstown? It's like gone now.
Probably for good reason.
Yeah. Pretty sure that was haunted. It's terrifying every time I went in there.
So many 7-Elevens.
Yeah.
It is now the ghost. The
7-Eleven.
7-Eleven is the ghost.
Tell you what, though, they got the best damn blueberry coffee you'll ever have. I was so
Those are two
upset.
flavors I don't think that I would like.
Have you tried it?
You should try it. Dunkin' Donuts.
No,
Blueberry
trash.
coffee.
Their blueberry it's trash. Tastes like watered down nonsense. But 7-Eleven's blueberry coffee on point.
Blueberry and coffee is just, I don't know. Maybe had a little maple syrup in it.
No, just
A little pancake action.
Just a little bit of French vanilla. I don't know what they do or how they do it, but it's like you're drinking coffee and it tastes like blueberries and it works.
I will take your word for it. So, City Hall, haunted, the
Mhm.
surrounding area. We stopped a couple of places right in the vicinity. We won't go into too much detail on those. There was a White House across the street that was used as a headquarters by Robert E. Lee at some point.
Well,
People reported seeing ghostly apparitions in that house. And then the one house behind City Hall that he made a point of stopping at,
the Engle home.
yes, which was a place of unbelievable tragedy.
Yeah, that was pretty. I think that was the most depressing story of all the ghost tour.
I forget the disease that he said the children contracted. It ended up being 6 out of their 10 children dying from it
Some of that, yeah.
in like the span of days. It was like one died, and that was their main ghost that they had. Her name was Mary.
The little girl.
She died, and then like a year later, so they were reporting that Mary's ghost was showing up, opening doors, crawling in bed with them.
Almost immediately too.
Yeah.
After she had passed.
Yeah, saying that she couldn't stand to be away from her family, couldn't stand to be alone in the afterlife, which is just sad.
Yeah,
That's just so sad.
it's rough.
So all of the family members that were still alive in the house reported having an experience of some sort of Mary's ghost. And then after that, her brothers and sisters started passing away from this disease. Like I said, within the span of like a week, 5 or 6 of the kids passed away. And then the mother passed away shortly after that. He said once the mother passed away, it was almost as if she corralled them all
Yeah, and
into the afterlife properly.
and the hauntings kind of like
and,
ceased.
Yeah, the hauntings
Yeah.
went away. He said, I think sometimes they still have some minor activity in that house, but more often than not, it's been pretty quiet. So at least they got some peace after all.
Presumably,
Hopefully.
Mama came back and took them all home.
Walked down the street to another location. You guys remember the guy's name for that house?
Tyler House? Is that the one you're talking about?
The doctor, Spite House. Yeah.
Yes. He was there.
It's off of Record Street.
Yes.
Is,
It's like
yeah.
right behind City Hall.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's right off of Record Street. They said that they built his house there because they were looking to expand Record Street. Built the house there, made a foundation. They came to like keep making the road for it, and then they're like, oh, we can't do this road anymore because
Called
there's
the
a house
Spite
there.
House because he was spiteful, didn't want the road to be built there.
Yeah.
So he slapped up a foundation real quick
Yeah.
before they could get the road out
Oh,
in that
what
direction.
a son of a bitch.
And it was
man.
like overnight, right?
Yeah.
Then you get like a crap ton of laborers. It was
Yeah.
like, guys,
Yeah.
we got to
In the
get.
morning, the crew came out to build the road, and he was like sitting on the foundation.
It just
This is
sitting
right.
in
You
there
guys
drinking his coffee.
Suck my big old.
But the hauntings for the Spite House pretty much cover the same gambit where the ghost of Mr. Tyler stands staring out the window of the house looking down Record Street, making sure that nobody's still coming down to build the road through the foundation.
Like anybody walking by in a construction hat, he just loses his shit.
Yeah.
It's like knocking on the window, ding, ding, ding.
I said it was a bed and breakfast for a little while, and people would report in the middle of the night having their covers rearranged, taken off, room becoming incredibly cold to the point that frost even developed on the windows.
Yeah.
And then for a second or two, they would see the apparition of Mr. Tyler standing by the bedside. He said it wasn't a mean spirit or anything like that. It was just like a checking in, making sure you're enjoying your stay kind of thing. It's like, all right,
Better not be messing up my sheets.
it's like I'd be having a better stay if you weren't standing at the end of the bed there, sir.
Claim that one of the chandeliers is always like swinging. Why is it always a chandelier?
Yeah.
Because chandeliers are easy to move, I think. I was actually just watching a episode of Ghost Hunters, and they had similar phenomenon occurring at this other location. And it turned out that the air ducts for the air conditioning, whenever they turned on, would blow cold air or whatever kind of air right into where the chandeliers were and just move the entire thing. And you wouldn't really think about it because the vents are hidden. That's probably what's going on. People walk in, don't know that the vents are there. They just see the chandeliers swinging, assume that it's a ghost moving them. I feel like that's probably what's going on there.
I mean, I looked inside. I didn't see, but
It's somebody's house, man.
he encouraged this.
I'm assuming he gets the okay from the owners. Like, hey, can you leave your blind open so I can show him your chandelier?
They're pretty proud of that chandelier, so I'd imagine
Yeah.
they're okay with it.
They didn't look fancy. It just looked like a normal chandelier. I mean, those people were pretty bougie. They had like 2 Audis out in their front driveway, and your house right next to City Hall in Frederick, they're easily paying like $1 million for that home. I guarantee it.
Probably.
I guarantee it. So
From there, we took another quick stroll down the road to the Barbara Fritchie house. Nick, you were pretty excited when we got to that point. You were pretty gung ho on staying there at some point.
So it's an Airbnb. It's the home of Fredericktown resident Barbara Fritchie. Her story goes that a group of, the Confederates were marching through with Stonewall Jackson through Frederick, sticks her head out the window and starts waving around the American flag or the Union flag. I'm not even going to attempt to quote what she said, but essentially along the lines of like,
She said, "Shoot if you must at this old head." Something along those lines. She was basically begging them to shoot at her. Like, she was like, "Oh, shoot me if you have to, but I'm not stopping. I'm not going to stop waving this
She's
flag."
95, right?
Yeah, she was
Way
95.
up there.
yeah, way up there. And then Stonewall Jackson was like apparently so moved by that act of like courage that he basically called out his men, like, if anybody take a shot at her, like, you're going to be dealing with me. Essentially, like I said, you can stay there. It's an Airbnb, supposedly haunted with, the spirit of Barbara Fritchie. Workers, or I'm guessing it's
Cleaning
like,
crew there has claimed that when they go up to the bedroom, there's an imprint where she used to sleep in one of the beds.
yeah.
Every time they go up there, they'll like straighten it out a little bit, and they'll leave the room and come back, and then that imprint's there again.
There was also reports of hearing footsteps walking around the room. So then, like, workers would run upstairs to see who's up there. And of course, by the time they get up there, there's nobody there. I think there was actually one account, too, of somebody claiming that they actually saw Barbara Fritchie, of course, like in like her old state, 95-year-old, old haggard looking lady. But you can actually find photos of her online. It'd be cool to stay there.
I'm down to stay there. See if we can find old Barb.
It's like put a picture of Stonewall Jackson on the dresser, but
I'm
not
sure she'd
like
probably be cool with that because she'd be like, "Well, he did tell them not to shoot at me, so maybe he was an all right guy." But also maybe not. Maybe she hated his guts.
good old fashioned Stonewall Jackson.
Speaking of Civil War buildings, that's probably all we're going to talk about in terms of the ghost tour that we went on. I don't want to give too much of it away just in case people want to go take the tour for themselves.
Yeah.
Don't want to ruin the experience. Again, we don't want to copyright their work. He put in a lot of work. I think that he owns the tour and does the tours by himself, something along those lines, but he was very good. I thoroughly enjoyed that tour, so I would recommend going on it.
Go check it out if you can. A recommendation, I would go during the fall.
Yeah, it was hot.
It was very hot, but just the
Mostly
fall.
humid. Yeah, it was.
Fall is like prime time ghost tour.
It's spook season, baby.
It's spook season, man. Go check it out during.
Yeah,
during
definitely
the
won't
fall.
be disappointed.
Get yourself a nice hot
Pumpkin
cocoa,
spice.
nice PSL.
So excited for fall.
I'm pumped. I'm pumped.
Like chill in the air this morning.
I'm just like, it's coming. Pretty soon here, about 3 weeks, 4 weeks. Have me my apple cider donut.
Oh yeah.
I've already got my fall candles burning. I don't care.
So I'm telling you, man, I got all that stuff packed, and like as soon as that weather hits, it's
Comes out of the box.
it's coming out of the box.
It's set up. I'm like, oh yeah.
So going back to kind of the Civil War and Frederick's role in it. So all of Frederick was more or less a field hospital. So I think that contributes to a lot of the hauntings in the area. Also houses the Landon House. And this is another outside of the Frederick city, but this house was built in 1754 and moved to Frederick in 1846. Most people believe that it was just dismantled and moved up to the current location. It served as the headquarters for both Union and Confederate forces in the war. Jeb Stuart, Joe Hooker, George Meade, all those guys occupied it at one point or another.
Who was that?
Joe Hooker was the commanding officer of the Union forces before George Meade took over. He was the commanding general for the Army of the Potomac. One of the main stories comes from Jeb Stuart occupying this house. Jeb Stuart was the Southern Cavalry commander. He was accompanied by Colonel Luke Bryan in 1862. Bryan then purchased the house after the war in the late 1880s and died in the home in the early 1900s. Forts started sometime after that, and they claim that rocking chairs move on their own, and an old man is to have been seen in the basement. A report from a previous owner's grown son and his friend claimed that they seen the apparition of an old man's head and torso floating about down in the basement, and they believed it to be Colonel Bryan himself.
Just the head floating?
Head and the torso.
Head and the torso.
Floating around in the basement.
Any theories as to why it's just the head and the torso?
Only theory that I ever have on those kind of things is just that they don't have enough energy to manifest themselves fully.
He wasn't drawn and quartered as well, right?
No. As far as I know, he was in full intact when he died.
That'd be the worst.
What, just being a head and a torso?
Yeah. Like,
why? You don't need your legs, you're just floating around. I think that'd be pretty cool. Extra spook factor.
But what if you're like not trying to see? Like, what if you're a ghost and you're like
Then
trying
get some
to
legs, bro. Manifest them legs.
Well, I know there are a lot of those pits that are still being found of just like limbs.
Yeah. Yeah. The Civil War field hospitals, like I said on a previous episode of Ghost of Gettysburg, hacking limbs off and throwing them out windows and putting them in mass burial sites. As far as we know, this was not a field hospital, just a headquarters. Must have been too nice of a place to sully with gruesome scenes of war. Other reports claim children see the ghost of a woman in a shawl who appears in the bedrooms.
Don't like that.
On one occasion, the daughter of a house guest claimed to have been served a glass of milk by the apparition.
That's even worse.
Like,
I don't think I'd drink that.
it's just like, was it ghost milk? Was it regular milk?
Like,
Ectoplasm.
no, don't like that at all.
It's like, hey, honey, can you want anything? Glass of milk, water? Oh, yeah, I'll take some milk. Comes back with the milk. We're like, wow, that person that gave me that milk last night was really nice. What person gave you milk? We don't even have milk. We're a lactose intolerant family.
Oh, it's so creepy, dude. Like,
I think that would be worse than any kind of.
I would take headless torso guy over over milk.
I would say any other beverage from a ghost.
It's been pasteurized.
Just give me a night like a blue moon or like an ale or something, but milk,
Who knows?
like curdled ghost milk.
New T-shirt idea: curdled ghost milk.
Yes.
Write that one down.
Ooh, that's a good one. Like a cup. You see a skull and like the curdles. Ooh.
Just a ghost in a sheet giving you a glass of curdled milk.
And the person just stands like taken back.
Of
Like,
disgust.
oh, you expect me to actually drink that?
There's also claims of being a strong smell of cherry tobacco in the house, even though no one in the family smokes a pipe. The owners say that the previous owner had smoked cherry tobacco and had died in the house. It always smells like that. I wonder how ghosts manifest smells like that. If I was a ghost and I could manifest a smell, absolutely I would. But also if I was on the other end of it and there was a ghost manifesting a smell in my house that smelled like cherry tobacco, which smells awesome, I wouldn't be mad about it.
Think of
That's
all the
true.
Captain Black. Cherry was like my least favorite. It's disgusting.
I mean, cherry tobacco was popular back then, man.
Sure, back in the day. Currently, today.
It's probably like
no.
real cherry back then.
Yeah.
Yeah, none of this artificial
stuff. Oh.
And then some of the last claims are from a family who was living in the attic for a short time. They heard inexplicable cannon fire from the attic. So they must have been upstairs living in the attic. All of a sudden, they start hearing cannon fire. Look outside. There's no cannons. There's no smoke. There's nothing.
No, you have to share it. What was it?
Kind of sounds worthy.
Inexplicable cannon sound.
What is that rhythmic cannon coming from the attic?
No, it was from the family in the attic claiming these cannon sounds. Nobody else in the house claimed to hear cannons from the attic.
Gotcha.
From outside of the house. Yeah, no lovemaking excuses, if that's where you were going with that.
Weren't there a lot of war things happening? Wasn't that close by?
No, it was late in the 1900s.
Oh.
This is like generations after. There were reports of a Confederate soldier roaming around on the front lawn. objects in the house moving on their own, such as a metal soap dish, cabinets being opened on their own, and at one point, a physical assault of a man who claims he was kicked in the ass after commenting on a portrait in the house.
Man, that is an ugly lady.
That's pretty much what happened, only it was a man. It was a man commenting on how ugly or how stupid they looked back then on another man's photo. And then after he said that, it got a swift kick in the ass. Apparently ran out of the house and never came back. I think just like a comical version of where like you just see his like pants get pulled up like a wedgie form. He like lifts off the ground a little bit, just booted, and then out the door he goes. So that is the Landon House. I don't know what the current status is. I don't know if it's a B&B or if it's still owned by the same family. Those are the claims of Landon House. Pretty fun stuff. So we can stay in it. I would, so I can see Nick get kicked in the pants by a ghost.
Well, I'm not going to comment on like the portraits of people being ugly. I'm just going to flat out call them ugly.
That's the same thing.
No, not going to insult the portrait. I'm going to insult the ghost. Like, oh, Sir
man.
John Smith, you old hag,
You old bitch.
you Revolutionary Civil War era bitch face.
Is that a war? The Revolutionary Civil War?
Yeah.
It is now.
Do you guys believe in ghosts?
I do.
I'm open to it.
I'm very much a skeptic, and I want to be convinced.
You can hear my theories on our previous episode of Ghost of Gettysburg. Go on, Brittany. Why are you a skeptic? I would like to know.
I just haven't seen anything. I want to go to one of these places. I want to do all the things. I want to antagonize. I want to be convinced.
So, what about in Salem when we kind of had some ghosty things happen there?
Remind me, what ghosty things?
I don't remember ghosty things happening.
You don't remember the ghosty things happening
I remember
in the stairwell?
No, I want to be like kicked.
You want to be physically assaulted by a ghost?
So much like the spirit box kind of experience, where that could be, radio waves or something. I want like a
You want somebody
no
to come
questions, convince me kind of thing.
up. You want a ghost to just manifest, punch you square in the face,
Sure.
and leave.
Pour me a glass of milk.
That I will not drink.
I will not drink. It's only real if you drink the milk.
I don't know what to say to that.
That's only real if you drink.
It's only real if you drink the milk. Yeah, you just see this like disheveled hand just like come out of the wall, holding like it's like shaking. The curdles are like falling out of the
Okay, well, it
glass.
doesn't have to be curdled milk every time. This could be a friendly ghost actually giving you a nice glass
I don't
of milk.
care what you say. There will never
How did the
be.
milk get through the wall?
It's
It's a physical glass of
It's
milk.
ghost milk. That's what you question. Like how?
Well, I'm just saying. You said you have to drink the milk for it to be real. So how did the real milk get through the wall?
No, I'm saying you got to drink the milk for the ghost to be real.
It's the
just
same
like-
thing.
It just materializes.
So the hand is coming out of the wall, and then the milk materializes.
Comes out
Paint me the
as a
picture, Nick.
pencil.
Walk me through this.
You're sitting there smoking your cherry pipe tobacco.
Huh?
When suddenly you look to your left, and out of nowhere, this ghastly hand just comes out of the wall holding milk.
So the hand already has the milk.
And then another
Both hand
hand
and milk are coming through the wall
Yes.
at the same time.
and another hand comes out.
The crepe.
This has turned into a fantasy of yours.
Well, grape changes things. And now we're getting serious.
So you don't drink the ghost milk, but you eat the ghost crepe?
I need the crepe. I'd kindly refuse the milk, but I would eat the crepe. No questions.
Okay, so you're sitting there, the ghost hand, ghost milk comes out, ghost crepe comes out.
You grab the crepe, you take the crepe,
Okay, but then the ghost isn't real by your standards because you didn't drink the milk.
but you ate the crepe.
That's different.
You ate the crepe.
It's like a red pill, blue pill situation in the Matrix.
Yeah.
You drink the milk or eat the crepe.
I would most definitely eat the crepe.
Well, then that means you just go back to living your regular, boring, everyday office job life.
That's fine.
You never enter the Matrix.
Okay, I got a crepe out of it. I don't care.
Never enter the ghost zone. Still skeptical. You never believe in ghosts. So you eat the crepe and you forget everything that just happened. You drink the milk and you know the ghosts are real.
No, the milk was never drank.
That's what I'm saying. This is the situation. You eat the crepe, instantly erases your memory of how the crepe got there. You didn't just see the ghosts. So you're still a ghost skeptic. Or you can drink the milk, where the milk makes everything real. And the ghosts you remember and you've seen it. And you have indisputable evidence that you can prove that they're real. You still take the crepe.
I'm hungry. I'm eating the damn crepe. That ghost comes out at least 3 times a week and tries to offer me a glass of milk. And each time I kindly refuse.
Just take the milk. It's the ghost of a milkman.
Does that mean the milk itself is a ghost?
That's what I've been trying to say.
That's what it is. Like it's haunted milk. Like my fear is
Take
if
it
I
back. That's the t-shirt.
Like, what if you take the haunted milk, but the hand doesn't stop there? Now he like reaches over and starts like caressing your head. And like,
And like starts burping you.
Holds the cup to your lips.
It's a warm milk at that.
oh my god, it's even worse. Why is it
I
warm?
mean, this is a ghostly woman who assumed probably served as a servant or something at this house and is now offering you a nice warm glass of milk, a nice pat on the back to burp you.
Like, just you scarf down this milk, you give in to the temptation, you drink the haunted milk.
Now you're now possessed.
He had a milk mustache, and you just see like her little skeletal finger just come up to your lips, shh, and it just like recedes back into the wall. Terrifying. Thing of nightmares. Proof that ghosts exist because you now have this haunted milk coursing through your veins.
Instantly turns into an exorcist situation where you just fly up onto the ceiling and start vomiting profusely while you're spinning around.
And that's why I'm taking the crepe.
Okay, the crepe is also haunted.
I don't want your warm haunted milk. Get away
The
from
crepe
me.
is cold. Warm milk, cold crepe. Worst B&B ever.
2 stars.
Smelled like cherry tobacco. Not a fan.
Would rate 1 star if it wasn't for the cherry tobacco smell.
All right. That's all we have for Landon House. I think we should hit one more location here real quick before we wrap this episode up. And I think that's probably like the most talked about or well-known haunted location. We're going to talk about Spook Hill,
I know nothing.
the famous Burkittsville Gravity Hill,
I know
some may
nothing
call
of
it.
Spook Hill, but I'll gladly give commentary where I can.
No haunted crepes are there, unfortunately.
Nope,
But
then I've lost interest. If you routinely engage in crepe eating, are you a crepist?
no, you're a serial crepist.
Yeah, like that guy eats 30 crepes a day. Oh, what a crepist.
I mean, it makes sense that a crepe would be the food of choice for a ghost because they're crepey.
telling you, man, like, it's just ridiculous. Crepey. It's like these crepey ghosts. That weird guy down the street who's a serial crepist eating 50 crepes a day. He doesn't stop. He's insatiable.
You can't curb the crepe.
You're being arrested, charged with 3rd-degree crepe. You crepist.
You're going to jail for a long time, pal. How many crepes have you committed?
37 this week. My God.
Yeah, so Spook Hill is a pretty interesting location for a lot of reasons. Side of Frederick near Burkittsville, which was, I believe, the site of the Blair Witch Project.
Is that Frederick County?
It's located outside of Frederick near Burkittsville. So the legend of Spook Hill starts because this was a site of a Union victory when both armies tried to surprise attack each other before the Battle of South Mountain. Confederate forces tried moving their cannons to the top of the hill. Union soldiers who were alert at night when the Confederates were trying to do this took the position on the top of the hill first before the Confederates could get there. The Confederates get to the top of the hill with the cannons. They walk into like a Union firing line and just get obliterated. Large Union victory, lots of Confederate deaths. Pretty much the catalyst of these sightings occur because they believe that the Confederate soldiers are still haunting that area. Sightings include phantom campfires that appear in the mountainsides. Once you get up to one of the campfires, you can sometimes see a Confederate soldier warming themselves, but oftentimes it's been reported that you'll see the campfires. If you go to inspect them, they'll disappear. So you never really get to see them up close.
That's so cool.
The campfire disappears
Like
or
the-
the soldier disappears?
Campfire. So the kind of the legend goes that you can see the campfires, they're in the area. If you get close enough to one before they disappear, you can see soldiers. I assume the outlines are phantoms of soldiers sitting and warming themselves by these fires. But more often than not, people claim that they see the campfires, they go to inspect them, and then they're gone by the time they get there.
That's pretty neat. Are
The-
there like
just
no
like
smoldering ash, no smell? That's crazy.
nope, just phantom campfires,
That's crazy.
nothing around. Of all the claims, that would be one that I think would be the coolest one to see.
To witness like a
Yeah.
phantom campfire. It's I don't know why that strikes me as like so like cool to think about.
It'd be really cool to see like thousands of them.
Yeah.
That's just me. Imagine an army of people on a mountainside and you just see campfires, like thousands of them. I always get goosebumps thinking about that. Gettysburg, they described like the day before the battle, looking out into the distance, you could just see tons of campfires and everybody's like, oh shit, here we go.
Yeah.
So just kind of like that impending feeling of dread. So kind of how Spook Hill got its notoriety is that there's a major claim that if you place your car in neutral at the bottom of the hill, you'll begin to feel that you're being pushed up the hill as if Confederate soldiers are still trying to fulfill their duties of moving the cannons to the top. And I've heard this claim a bunch of times from a lot of people. They're telling the story again. I don't know if anybody's experienced this that I know, but they're That story's been going on for like since we were kids.
All right, we're going to sit here and prove this theory. I'm going to park my Dodge 3500 right here.
Some people even say that they put like powdered sugar or baby powder on their back of their car, and once they get to the top of the hill and get out to look at the car, there's our handprints.
Handprints on it.
Yeah.
Like, that's
Say it works some of the time. It doesn't always happen. So that's probably the most well-known ghost story place, haunted place in Frederick County. We've got so much stuff in Frederick County alone. Just like Gettysburg, we could probably do 2 or 3 episodes just on this stuff alone. But the claim of getting pushed uphill in a car is a pretty major one. I think that's got to be at the top of the list of craziest
How
phenomenon.
fast does it push
Right.
a car?
I would assume not very fast. Nobody's given an exact mile per hour or anything. I would assume it's going up pretty slow. Some people claim that it's what's called a gravity hill, where it just gives you an optical illusion that you're going back up the hill, or that your car's going up on its own. It's actually looks like you're going uphill, but the hill is actually downhill, or something along those lines. I don't know how an optical illusion like that happens.
yeah.
That's what most people that are skeptics like Brittany believe.
Great way to save on gas, you know?
Ghost power.
Yeah.
Elicit a ghost.
That one I will say is a little more outlandish. I would have to go and experience it for myself or see it happen, and maybe you could disprove it from the outside looking in.
Let's do it. Get some baby powder. This one ghost is doing that by himself. I need details.
This is true.
It's a heavy car.
I'm saying it needs to be like a semi truck.
And The Ghosts and Legends of Frederick County by Timothy Cannon and Nancy Whitmore. It's believed by many that the car is being moved by the spirits of the dead soldiers continuing to perform their duties. Anyone who has journeyed to Burkittsville and experienced the sensation of moving uphill can well believe that phantom soldiers are struggling to move the car just as they struggled with the cannon many years ago.
I feel like this one could be easily tested.
Well, I said it doesn't always happen. It's like a very minuscule chance that you're going to get lucky enough that you're going to get pushed up the hill. You would think that if it's a natural occurring phenomenon, it would happen far more often.
Only the cannon-like cars.
Let's get like a pickup truck, dress it up like a cannon. But I want to see how strong these ghosts really are. So I'm going to get like the biggest truck that I can find within reasonable budget.
Just for this one thing.
Just for this one thing.
And sell it back to the dealer.
Yeah.
Covered in baby powder and handprints.
Oh, you're in Frederick, weren't you? Yeah.
You were Spook Hill.
Spook Hill.
Covered in powder, returning a car. That's not suspicious at all.
So any other thoughts on Spook Hill?
I'd like to check it out. I'd like to test that theory.
It seems like an easy enough theory to try.
Just gonna drive up there, bust out a big old container of baby powders all over the back of it, just sit there and wait.
Yeah, I think we should take a trip down there sometime.
Once
we stay in the Barbara Furchie house, just go over to Spook Hill and test that theory, go back to the Barbara Furchie house and ghost hunt.
Yeah.
Sounds like a nice night. And then get some crepes.
I want a crepe now.
You gotta go stay at the Landon House for that kind of service. So like we said, we could probably do episode after episode on the ghosts of Frederick County, but we'll kind of set it off there. We won't get too deep into the woods on those stories. We'll probably just do another episode just on South Mountain.
The Battle
itself.
of South Mountain.
Battle of South Mountain. I mean, there's some pretty crazy reportings at South Mountain. So
Yeah.
I think we should definitely touch on that at some point. Other than that, Ghosts of Frederick County. What do you guys think?
Definitely think it's haunted. Definitely think there's a lot of history there. And like, so we haven't even
lot of
scratched
tragedy.
the surface. Yeah. It's just because it was like such a prime location for like a lot of pivotal moments in like the nation's history.
Yeah, I'm with you. I think that Anytown could be haunted. Frederick has a great case. Major revolutionary hotspot. Ghost tour guide even told us maybe possibly the very first unofficial president of the United States lived there in a house downtown.
Mm-hmm.
They said that he haunts a couple of places down there. Hotspot for Civil War action. A lot of battles fought in the Frederick County area. And like I said, it was used as mostly a giant hub of field hospitals. Every building, every church, those hospitals were sites of unparalleled horror, just gruesome, nasty stuff.
Well, it's probably disgusting.
A lot of residual energy there, some believe.
Even being more skeptical, I really appreciate the ghost stories, how it kind of keeps history alive and keeps people talking about things.
Oh,
Yeah, absolutely.
Mm-hmm.
Specifics.
Absolutely.
For sure.
So with that, I think we're going to put a haunted milk bow on this episode and crepe for the road on the ghosts of Frederick County. And we'll catch you all next time when we talk about all things spooky.